So let's do now a summation of what we heard last time. This is basically a summary to cover it now. So we wanted to look at how is it that you just assume that rational thinking, everyday rational thought, is just a given, why it's just natural. So we want to understand that process. And what I set up earlier is it's called the subject-object divide. The observer, subject, object, the event or phenomena, that divide, the gap and the separation we talked about being established. So in metaphysics and in philosophy and science, that can't just be a given, it's a relation. In mathematics, this is always very clear. You're discussing ratios and relata or relations. So similarly, we have to establish that as principle, as essential to the foundations of knowing. That scienza, like scientific knowing, not everyday just la-di-da experience, but what is rigorous systematic knowing or Wissenschaft, like scientific knowing, must account for that structure. What is the observer interacting with? What encounter is it? So we get to eventually conceptual relations, says Heisenberg, we said at the end. But after the Renaissance, there was a process of removing magic. And the scientists refer to this as natural knowledge, that is, a natural physics, the physics of nature is natural or naturalism, right? As opposed to the supernatural, elements that are unknown, intangible, invisible, immeasurable, unquantifiable, in a judgment sense, also mystical, occult-like. A bit like the first early days of electricity when lay people were just quite enamored with this sort of mystery of this new force. It seemed like magic, some sort of supernatural agent inside the copper and the wires and the nitrogen and so on, which we now sort of laugh at. So we've established that demagification is the expelling of supernatural powers, that we will see the rise of rationalization later. But before that, says Heisenberg, there's a move to empiricism, that is the reign of the senses, that which can be measured, that which can be seen, matter, for example, etc., must be accountable to the powers of the five senses. So what is real is what is knowable sensibly, sensibly, etc. And then the rise of the laws of nature because of conceptual thinking as belonging to rational thinking. We also said that the rise of the concepts is the 19th century development, particularly mathematics. And then we have a concept of there being laws, the nomai or the nomos of nature, that there are laws which we grasp by mind. So mind now, by the 19th century, comes into the picture, not just the senses, the five senses, but concepts, building constructs based on the SO, subject and object. Concept allows then matrices, probabilities, statistical mechanics to emerge, because you're thinking of, rather than an event like a storm we looked at, we're looking now at objects, mathematical objects. A triangle is an object. Pi is considered, it's made of numbers, but it's considered an object unto itself. Infinity is a sort of object-like thing. So we can symbolize it, we can measure it, we can use it as a unit, etc. So mind grasps infinity, not the eye or the ear. So concepts come into collaboration with the empirical to make empiricism, to strengthen empiricism through a conceptual framework. And the last thing we said was that, and this is a cost-benefit analysis, that with greater precision, science achieves more by narrowing the lens, by delimiting the domains by which it can investigate. It can pursue the laws of nature, investigate, is finding what laws are operative. When it rains, what are the laws behind raining? So it can do that because it acquires greater precision. And Karl Popper, the Austrian philosopher, etc., he talks about these matters, the value of one versus the value of the other. For example, the value of comprehensiveness over the value of precision. Which one are you going to value more scientifically? That science doesn't have an observational standpoint by which to sort out the utility of pros and cons. If you narrow the lens by science, yes, you gain greater precision, but you lose domains. So you can't really talk about the political world, the moral world, the symbol world, the aesthetic world, the moral world, the civilization world, the ethical world. But you're more precise. You can take a more rigorous sort of measure in the petri dish and the microscope, etc. So there was this tension between gain, precision, and loss, domains cut off. So science says we will only call knowledge now that which is from scientific inquiry. The method of science is knowledge. Other domains are experiential, but they're not necessarily knowledge with a capital K, which is known as episteme.